Hello, BookTube. Well, this was a bookish day, even for me. This was through the roof bookish. This was mountains and mountains of books everywhere. But I'm going to tempt fate by saying I think it's coming to an end. So we have a little mail haul to go through here. I thought we'd go through it together, see what's of interest to me and to you, and then I will move on to other bookish parts of my day. Sooner or later, I'm going to have to stop accumulating them and start writing about them. But let's see what we have here. Oh my. Okay, this comes out in May. From Cold War to Hot Peace. An American ambassador in Putin's Russia. There's a job for you. Michael McFall is the author. I wonder if hot peace is the term that's going to fall into parlance for this weird state of affairs in the world today. It certainly isn't a Cold War. If civilians are being killed on the streets of non-combatant nations, openly. Well, let's see. From one of America's leading scholars of Russia, who served as ambassador during the Obama administration, a revelatory inside account of the U.S.-Russia relations from 1989 to the present. Oh my. Okay. All right. That's fascinating. That couldn't help but be fascinating. All right, let's move on here. What's this next goodie? Oh, great. Okay. This is a novel by Louise Candlish called Our House. Kind of nice cover, yes. Due in August. A disturbing novel of domestic suspense. Sorry. A disturbing novel of domestic suspense in which a devastating deception shatters the best intentions of a separating husband and wife. In the wake of her husband Bram's infidelity, Fiona Lawson manages to keep her young son's lives as stable as possible, thanks to a bird's nest custody agreement. I don't know what that means. The two boys stay in the family home while Fiona and Bram take turns living there. Oh, that must be what it means. What an odd way to do things. All seem to be going as well as possible until the terrible day Fiona arrives home and sees another couple moving in. Okay, I'm sold. All right, great. Okay, so a novel that comes out in the summer, in August, the end of summer. We'll be gearing up for another winter by then. Okay, great. This is Mark Ambinder. This is The Brink, President Reagan and the Nuclear War Scare of 1983. The second book on this thing, on this particular incident to come out this year. The incredible true story of the 1983 war game that triggered a tense, brittle period of nuclear brinksmanship between the United States and the former Soviet Union. I would change that, of course. I'd change the wording of that to the Soviet Union. It was the Soviet Union. So no need to say former. What happened in 1983 to make the Soviet Union so afraid of potential nuclear strike from the United States that they sent mobile ICBMs into the field, placing them on a 3-minute alert? The author explains the anxious period between the United States and the Soviet Union from 1982 to 1984 with the Able Archer 83 war game. That was the name of it, Able Archer 83, as the fulcrum of the tension. With astonishing and clarifying new details, he recounts the scary series of close encounters that tested the limits of ordinary humans and powerful leaders alike. And a couple of years ago, there was a book called Able Archer, and this year, this is the second book on the subject, and it's harrowing to think how close the world came in 1983 to effective obliteration of human civilization. There might still be life on Earth now, but human civilization would be drastically wounded. It would have been drastically wounded. If it had survived at all, it would have survived in a radically different form. So we've got two Cold War books. Those things weren't bad enough in the daily news. Let's see, where are we going to put these things? I'll make a pile right here. That's where they're going to end up anyway. They're going to end up on the ramparts. I had to clear off the ramparts early this week because they were teetering. Okay, what is this next one? Okay, this is by Chris Ofoot, and it is called Country Dark. and the cover is glamorizing tobacco addiction as something that's cool and noir, edgy, instead of being completely outside of its victim's control, which is not cool or edgy. Let's see. What is this? The author is an outstanding literary talent whose work has been called lean and brilliant by the New York Times Book Review. And what is this? In his latest work of fiction, this is his first work of fiction in nearly 2 decades. He offers a taut, compelling novel set in rural Kentucky about a good man pushed by circumstance into crime. Tucker, a young veteran, returns home from the Korean War and finds running moonshine through the hills and hollows of eastern Kentucky an overweight bootlegger who goes by the name of Beanpole. Although beset by hard luck and poverty, Tucker falls in love and starts a family. The Tuckers maintain a fierce love of home and each other. So when the state threatens to take away his children, Tucker is compelled to violence, and the consequences of his actions begin to close around him. Okay, so this is set in Appalachian country in Kentucky. Okay. Well, I've said on this channel before that I sometimes have a problem with Hick Lit. I sometimes have a problem with the stuff that it just takes for granted. This book summary on the publicity sheet, of course, isn't the book. It's separate from the book. The author probably had a hand in it, or at least saw it. But you can see problems in the publicity sheet right away. A good man pushed by circumstance into crime. Sounds like Tucker gets home from the Korean War and begins bootlegging, which is a crime, in order to make money. So that's not pushed by circumstance into crime. That's you deciding to commit a crime. And then if that's true, then when the state threatens to take away his children, Tucker is compelled to violence. Well, he broke the law first, as it were. But we'll see. I mean, that's just the summary. That could be completely wrong. And this comes out in April. Wow, his first novel in 2 decades. That's amazing. That's incredible. That's the sort of thing that makes me want to interview the author almost more than it makes me want to read the book. Okay, so that's a novel. All right. I don't need... He's doing a lot of press. He won't come up north, though. No, he's all over the American South. And in Iowa City, Iowa, at Prairie Lights Bookstore, of course. Prairie Lights Bookstore is an independent bookstore, an old and wonderful independent bookstore in Iowa City that I used to love when I was there. I lived in Iowa City for a long time, and I used to love Prairie Lights. And one day, I think I told this story before, one day I decided that if I love it so much, I ought to work there. And at the time, this was a long, long time ago, Prairie Lights had an informal application process where you gave them information, yes, but you also filled out a quiz to give them a feel for what you were like, what you might be like as a reader and a bookseller. And part of the quiz was for you to list your 10 favorite books. And I'm pretty sure that by doing that, they thought they would weed out the pretenders and the arse kissers and whatnot. And I didn't know that at the time. So when it came to do that, I listed my 10 favorite books, almost all of which are classics of Greece and Rome. They must have thought I was the most horrible, obsequious creature in the world, trying to impress them and win their approval, when all I was doing was being honest. So I didn't get the job. But it's a great place, and everybody that goes, any author that goes anywhere near there, tries to book it, because it'll be a capacity crowd of real readers. So what have we got here? Oh my. Oh, goodness gracious. Okay, this is a June book. We've seen it before. This is William Vollmann. This is the finished copy of Volume 1 of The Carbon Ideologies, his enormous new work of nonfiction coming out this summer. The Volume 1 is called No Immediate Danger. And this is the finished copy of it. My. Okay. I have begun to make inroads into this book in the advanced copy. It's not the sort of thing you read quickly, and it's not the sort of thing you read only once. I've begun to make inroads into it, but I'm glad to have the finished copy. Although, I don't know. This is by Viking. They're a great publisher. He's a big name. He's one of their biggest names, certainly, and on their publishing list, he's one of the only names they have you can pretty much guarantee he is immortal. Will be important 100 years from now, 200 years from now. But this is a virtually unsellable book, and I don't know. I almost, from the reading of the advanced copy that I've been doing, I almost want to say it's also virtually unreadable. His last book had a strong narrative to it. It was a historical novel. It was also enormous, but it was at least a story. This, I don't know. I'm really hoping that somebody, I will certainly review it for Open Letters Review, but I'm really hoping that somebody with a larger audience lets me review it, because I would like to come to grips with it in front of an audience. Sometimes you're not 100% sure about a problematic work like this until you have come to grips with it for an audience. So, fascinating. All right. Well, that one is at least not a guilty kick in the keister, because I have been working on the advanced copy. All right, so what do we got here? We've got a little bombardment of cardboard. Oh, great. Okay, this is a cute little thing that I really wanted. I think this is a debut novel. Yeah, this is a debut novel by Catherine Killalea called OK, Mr. Field. See that up close there? This comes out in July, and it just gave off that vibe. I don't know much about it, but it just gave off that vibe of something, a debut novel that I'm definitely going to want to read. A captivating portrait of a concert pianist as he becomes unhinged from reality and loses his grip on his own life. Narrated from the compulsive, idiosyncratic, and entirely original voice of Mr. Field, the novel poignantly captures the pulse of a man grappling with isolation and obsession. I should be showing you this, shouldn't I? Mr. Field is a London concert pianist until his musical aspirations are jeopardized in a train accident that leaves him with a splintered left wrist. His last memory before the accident is of a newspaper photograph of a house resembling a pristine white box propped on stilts. Seemingly on a whim, he uses his compensation settlement to buy the Cape Town beach house from the photograph, one of the three properties designed in the likeness of Le Corbusier's Villa Savoye, a home the architect described as a machine for living. Okay, and that sort of thing is struck me about it when I first heard about it. You can tell even from that brief bit of the plot description that it sounds original. It sounds like not pat. The only pat thing being, of course, it's not a splintered knee. You're a concert pianist whose hand is splintered in an accident. That is the sort of thing that happens in novels. But you got to forgive novels for having things in them that happened in novels. But the rest of it gives me the vibe of one of those books that the author had to write. And I always love those. I love reading them, even if they end up being failures. I love reading them. So I'm looking forward to this, even though it's a novel. So, all right, let's move on here. And I don't think I mentioned this. This ends in a box. We have a little box, and very nice. Okay, all right. I think this is April release. This is a finished copy. Yes, the beginning of April. We've seen it already. This is Lady in Red, an intimate portrait of Nancy Reagan. This is one of a small group of books that are starting to trickle out about late 20th century American presidencies, but not serious histories, but rather reflections. There's this. There were a couple. The President Will See You Now. There was movie night with the Reagans. Little things like that. Little reflections by people who were part of the Reagans' extended administrative family and who are writing these things. That's terrific. I'm glad to have the finished copy. And then we have the box. And then we'll be done for today. Oh, no. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. We end with the Steve book, unfortunately. This is also due in early April. This is Michael Broer's Napoleon, Spirit of the Age, 1805 to 1810. This is a multi-volume biography of Napoleon Bonaparte. An earlier volume of which I reviewed, I believe. I don't think it'll be on this pub sheet. I think I did it for... Yeah, this one is Spirit of the Age. The previous one was Napoleon's Soldier of Destiny, which was praised by Michael Dirda and Stephen Englund, but I'm pretty sure I didn't praise it. Maybe I didn't review it, but I think I reviewed it and poo-pooed it. But this is still a major undertaking, so I'm glad to have this, especially since I don't have the advanced copy anymore. All right, great. Wow, all right, that's a nice balance of stuff that we got. So we have Biography of Napoleon. Actually, let's do these aeronautically here. William Vollmann, No Immediate Danger, Volume 1 of the Carbon Ideologies. Then Lady in Red, an intimate portrait of Nancy Reagan. Country Dark by Chris Ofert, his first novel in 20 years. The Brink, about Ronald Reagan and how close Abel Archer brought the whole world to catastrophe. Our House, a novel. Okay, Mr. Field, another novel. And From Cold War to Hot Peace, which is Abel Archer all over again. It's Abel Archer moved forward to the 21st century. It's still the Russians. Okay, there we go. Great. So let me know in the comments field what you thought about any of these, and I'll be back soon. Thank you, BookTube.